dark when I get up, obviously. When I get up, I go around the house and I put every lamp on. Every lamp in the house is on. Now, you would say, well, that's not very energy efficient. And you'd be right. It's not. However, there is a value in it, I've found, in these days of just illumination.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've enjoyed it. I don't know if it's going to work for, it's warmth for the soul. I don't know if it's going to work if it's something I'll do for all of January and February, the two most brutal months. But it's working right now. And so give that a shot, boys, in the morning. Hit just the lamps, not all the lights, just the lamps. Nice warm glow throughout the house. They're all on in there right now. I mean, that's the way we're rolling. So that's how I've combated that. In terms of combating the disappointment, I got nothing. I got nothing for that. And we'll have a ton of fun on this show because that's what the show's all about. Is that, and we always kind of view it as this is a club, and we're going to still have all of those atmospheres, but it doesn't take away from the fact that nobody in their right mind thought we would be here. Nobody, least of all us. No. Least of all anybody in this building, let alone all the experts around the league. There is no easy way to say it, but it would be accurate to say that among the more disappointing teams in the league by a pretty decent margin. And that's,
no doubt.
That's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
And you never would have guessed it. But I mentioned this yesterday, and you said it late last week, and I learned a lesson with that this year. And we learned a similar lesson in 18 into 19, and that is the belief that there is a continuation in the league, that you get better or stay where you are in all facets. And really you don't. And I remember Freddie even talking about this in 2019 when he said, every season is different. And you're starting, in a certain extent, you're starting from scratch almost every year. There are certain things that are known, but even the things that you think are known aren't necessarily. And that's something that we've learned here in the odd number of years, in 19 and in 21, where the belief was that there would be a continuation of what you saw the previous year, and it just frankly didn't happen. And that's tough to wrap your head around, the reality of that. And that won't get any easier as this week goes along.
By the way,
it's going to hit home on Sunday.
And September's a long way away. I mean, before we get a chance to rectify this and do it on the field again, September is a very, very long way away. And I think that is what's so difficult about this. I take joy in the fact that for the good people of the show that listen to the show that, are in the club, and we love all of you, that, we've been able to give them a lot of winners in the scores. We've got Chesty Gibbe.
Kids through college.
Even though, there it is. Even though for, Chesty Gibbe to back the Steelers so boisterously with the narrative of his picks and the over-unders,
wow.
At least it yields a Chesty Gibbe. So that is also a positive that we'll look forward to.
You're going to look at the camera, or you're just going to look at that monitor?
Do you want to put?
What are you doing?
Do you want to give me a monitor? Like if you wanted this to be on TV and we were having talk back with somebody, where the monitor would be?
You're supposed to be talking to the people.
It would be directly under the
You're
camera.
Talking about me being some kind of Steeler fan.
In fact, it would be a screen that shows me the screen and the camera's
and
inside of it.
I'm up 2.
The camera's right inside of it. That's
he is
how
up
it works.
2.
Hey,
Chesty Gibbe,
we're not done yet.
You.
We got another week to go.
I'm praising you.
But the grave is cold.
I'm praising you.
Let's think about this from this.
It hurts
from the over-unders. So we started with, it hurts Nana. Did we start with you or Gibbe in the picks this week on the over-unders? Who went first?
You started with me.
Yeah, because he had won the last
so I'll
week.
start with. So theoretically,
no, you have to start with the winner.
You
start with him again. So I will.
Yeah, that's
I will
true.
have three opportunities to go different.
You'll have 3 opportunities to go opposite.
Yeah.
To try to catch him. Yeah, you'll have those 3 opportunities. So
the question becomes: do I just block you and pick everything you're picking?
You can't. You go first 3 times. We just laid that out for you.
But
that's literally what he just spent the last 3 minutes talking about.
I could pontificate like you do. And then all of a sudden you just blurt it out. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with what Nathan.
Here's my answer for the 3 that you go first on. Opposite.
That's it. The opposite. Do the opposite. That's the only chance. That's where we get. That's where we get.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, that's where you're at on that.
That was tremendous. You were actively participating in the conversation.
And he's telling you. I got the live stream up and running. I feel like I'm doing a good thing.
I'm just going to say what you say.
Not at all. Screw in the pooch. First Friday of the year. Here we go.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at me about where I'm looking. You put the zoom under the camera. That's what, right? Am I wrong, Beau? You've been in the biz.
I don't have that ability.
Well, you designed the studio.
You built the studio.
Oh,
You did design the studio independently.
No peek behind the curtain.
Without any oversight.
Yeah, it's just
not me.
I saw the original sketch on a napkin.
Give me did it on a napkin. A couple of moves from the business side of things. Activated from the COVID-19, Elijah Lee. Placed on the COVID-19 reserve, Dearness Johnson. Waived, Kyle Lauletta. Alex Taylor waived from the COVID-19 list. Restored to the practice squad, Nick Mullins. Tedrick Thompson. Placed on the practice squad, Javonte Moffett. So that's where you stand on that point. It's a game for the Bengals that obviously they're not going to play Burrow, so we know that. Joe Mixon tested positive for COVID-19, so he will miss the game. Von Bell, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Hendrickson also gone there. He was a great free agent signing for them.
Yeah,
Hopkins, Quentin Spain, all of those guys. Some could be back. My hunch is if you were Cincinnati, you don't play Jamar Chase, you don't play T. Higgins, you don't play Boyd. Play none of them. There's no reason to. If you're not going to play Burrow, you don't play any of those other guys either, would be my hunch, that this from their perspective would have a very preseason game type feel to it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, and my guess is, what we don't know, or maybe you guys were able to read between the lines, or maybe it was even said explicitly, is he resting because the game does not have stakes, or is he resting because of his knee that got tweaked at the end of that game? Like, are we expecting to see Chase? Yeah. Are they resting Chase and Higgins? And
they didn't get into that. Burrow was available today, and he said if he had to play, he could. Right. But he said that it's best to rest his knee.
Okay.
So, does that change? So the only result that has any bearing on them is the Kansas City one. So Kansas City plays Denver Saturday.
Yeah.
So, if Denver were to shock Kansas City and Cincinnati could move all the way up theoretically to the 1.
Tennessee would have to lose.
As well. Yeah.
I mean,
there's some things that would
unlikely.
Pretty slim.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, it's pretty slim. So it seems like they're punting on that and just conceding that they will be playing, in a week. Go ahead, Gibby.
Zach Taylor does say potentially when asked if Jamar Chase will play against the Browns.
I don't know why you would.
I don't know why you tried him out there.
So here's what I
wouldn't
have
play
to
any
say.
of them.
I realize that injuries are a thing, but I think staying in a rhythm is a thing. I mean, how many years did we watch?
If Burrow was playing, I would agree with you.
Sure,
but if Burrow's not playing, why are you playing Chase and Higgins and Boyd? I wouldn't play any of them. If Burrow's not playing. If Burrow's playing, then play them all. Play everybody who's healthy.
Agreed.
And that's what Rodgers was petitioning for with the Mannings. Was, hey, keep the rhythm. He's been talking about that. Keep the rhythm. So it'd be one thing if he's playing. If Burrow's playing, then yes, play Chase, play everybody, play him for a half, whatever. But if not, then I don't. Then I don't play any of them.
Agreed. I'm with you completely. We are in total alignment there. Because I'm curious. You got to watch it. I did not, obviously. When Rodgers was saying that to Peyton, because in my mind, the poster child for resting and then losing are the Colts.
Of course. And a lot of people argued
all the time.
It happened. A lot of people would argue that hurt them in the postseason, that they lost their edge. There were many times when they were, 14-1 going into that last game, and would play Curtis Painter and lose and drop to 14-2, and away you go. Throw Kerry Collins out there for a start. I mean, they did that a lot in those years because in many instances they were so quick to clinch.
Yeah.
So many years.
Like some year they rested in 2 weeks or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like that. I feel like that's
it was one of those things when they talked about it on the cast. It wasn't like they came to. It was very similar to the conversation about the audibles, where it's not like they came to a consensus on it. Rodgers actually asked Peyton about it, and Peyton kind of laid out both sides of it instead of just saying what I preferred. So you didn't really get a straight answer on it. And I don't know if we've seen from Green Bay what they're going to do. I haven't seen anything.
Sounds to me like if Aaron Rodgers wants to play, he's going to play. I mean, he doesn't.
I don't know that he answers to much.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I don't think he answers to much over there. Couple of news and notes. Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio each earned awards for the local Pro Football Writers PFWA for the 21 season. Myles voted Joe Thomas Award for the second consecutive year as the best player, and then Joel getting the award for the Good Guy Award. So good job out of both of those guys on that front. Yeah. After we got off the show yesterday, and this is something that obviously few would know more than you two about this, was the news of Doug Dieken. who has been in this organization for 50 years
50
as a player.
years.
That's stunning. As a player
Two-thirds
and in the booth.
of the history. This is the 75th anniversary. 50 years of it have involved Doug Dieken. That's incredible.
He is going to finish out this season alongside the great Jim Donovan, and then will hang up the microphone, as it were, and retire. There was a time where, when I first started the show, and we remember we'd have Deke and Donovan on once a week. Both we'd have like the four-man roundtable, which was so much fun, and that was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
we could do those things. But there were many times where the three of us would talk, and I'll get out of your guys' way because you guys have a million stories, and I'm the newbie on this front. But there were many times when I would get out of that segment, and we would look at each other and say, boy, it would be something to just do Remember When with Deke.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, you could just say Bill Cowher, Lyle Alzado, and just go. I mean, and the stories that we would stumble upon, remarkable. Just last thing real quickly for me, when we go to do training camp and we've been outside, Deke comes to every training camp, and Gibby always has the tent set up for us. One of the great treats for me is the 20 minutes before the show where Deke would sidle up, he would get a chair, he'd get in the shade, and he'd sit next to us and just listen to him observe and tell stories for 20 minutes before we would start the show is pure joy. He is a prince of a man, the king of the city, the best dude ever. So that's just from a newbie standpoint, my observations. You guys have the floor. You guys have worked with him for a long time.
He's a beauty, as he would like to say about people. Yeah. He is, like, this is my 8th season on the sidelines with Jim and Doug. And getting to listen to Deke and just kind of their banter and the way that they are in many ways opposites, the emotions of Jim and Deke. I remember when I filled in for him, the one game that he missed when he was sick when we were over in London, and he wrote me this very, very nice text about, being very encouraging to me about to do it. And, it was also just like, hey, remember, it's Jim's show. You just kind of stay out of the way. And that's kind of how he approached his position. They've talked about in all the articles. I've read so many articles now since it was there. But Deke is just, you see him before the game. One of my great joys is watching before games on the field. And it doesn't matter what team we're playing. He knows people in that organization. I'll talk to our players, our coaches. And he is an old school guy. So when you see the more old school guys, what you would think in the league, he's always talking with those guys. He's had the same travel bag, Gibbe, I think for maybe 100 years. It's an unbelievable. Really? Oh my goodness, it's the same. He's got it's a 2-piece set that he's got, like a handbag and then one over the shoulder of an old tan leather that is now so faded down, but still so perfect. It
is from his playing days.
Yeah, like it is.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. Been saying what every week.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
And he's such a nice guy. He is a great buster, if you will. I don't know if I can say the first part on I don't know if you can say that. I have no idea, even though we say football all the time.
Yeah.
But he's a buster.
Onion buster?
Yes, an onion buster. And he enjoys that. He enjoys the banter. He enjoys making his one-liners. And you're right, the story time. And this year last year we weren't on the road. This year we were on the road, but under very difficult auspices. And so I remember what stands out to me was when we went down to Jacksonville this year. And we got to have, it felt like 3 hours just kind of sitting at that hotel. I wouldn't even call it a bar. That would be a disservice to bars everywhere. But at this hotel, whatever it was. And we just got to sit there with Deke. And it was before that Jags preseason game this year. And he was just his stories. He's a captivating storyteller. It reminds me some ways of like my dad telling stories that there's a lot of old time stories, but he's got all the facts right there at the ready. And who cares? Who knows? I'm sure they're all true, but who knows if they even are? Like, it's just
doesn't matter.
The conviction with the way that they're told and just his way.
Yeah.
He's a joy to be around. And he will be really sorely missed because he has been such a fixture. I mean, you think about this organization, 75 years and what a big deal is, and 50 of them have involved Doug Dieken as a player or a broadcaster. I mean, that's stunning. That's insane. And he is, I think he's understated and perfect in that way. Like when he does say things, they carry a lot of weight. When he makes certain sounds, his sounds have the ability to carry a lot of weight as it relates to what's going on the field.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. He's an institution, and it will be a big, big change to not have him around. And he's been nothing but kind and generous to me. Great to work with, and he really is. I like going up in the booth now before the games just because you get to kind of hang out and hear some of the banter and the nonsense. And I still think my favorite thing, he said a lot of things. Like if I went through and tried to give, because, I'm on the head, I hear the broadcast, obviously, the whole time, and Gibby and I are usually talking. And he's had some real, absolute just zingers and just some funny comments. He's hysterical. But my favorite personal moment, I think, of Deke ever was in Baltimore, and I know he knows exactly what it is. So in Baltimore, there's this dude who's like a bigger guy. I don't know if he's tall. I
think he's a prop. I almost feel like he's a Ravens prop.
Totally. He's like the Jets guy because he's on every time we're there.
Yeah.
He's got a goatee. He's balding. He's got a belly. And
he's large.
He's a big dude. I don't think he's nearly as tall as you are, though. I don't even know if he's sniffing 6 feet. Definitely wider than you. But bald and the goatee and everything. And Deke goes,
"This is a Thursday night game. We're not playing well."
So
we're not playing well.
Deke goes, they're showing this guy on the jumbotrons. And Deke goes, "Hey, where's Gibbs?" There he is. And that's all he says. So on the radio, it means absolutely nothing to anybody but to us. And we all lost it. Hey, where's Gibbs? There he is. And it's that dude up on the Jumbotron. And I was dying on the sidelines. I mean, absolutely dying.
I still have that. I have that audio somewhere.
I drop it in every time we're in Baltimore and he's on again. I'll be like, "Oh, Gibbs is back."
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Totally out of context. It means nothing
Donovan
to anybody, I'm sure.
almost couldn't call the game. He was laughing. We were all like,
best.
One, where did that come from? B,
there's
an epic drop.
There he is. It was so just, the Deke.
Gibby, what was it like for you in your role with Deke from the standpoint of he is probably in many ways the soundtrack of your youth? And now you are working with him. What is that, and have for a long time? What is that like? Has that been like for you?
It's been awesome. I mean, it's been I've been very lucky to work with those guys and work with Nathan. I mean, the 3-man team, it works very well, and everybody is great. But Deke is definitely one of those guys. When I first started, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was literally thrown in I started it. They transitioned me over to ESPN from PD to, "You're going to handle the Browns account. It's Monday going into the first preseason game on Thursday night. I've never even done a game. I've never done any of the shows." Go.
This was 13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was Chud's year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My head is spinning. I don't even know what I'm doing. And so I sit down with Jim and Doug, and my first thought is, whatever they want, let's get them what they need. I'll figure out everything else, but as long as they're good, Deke just goes, "Just tape down the chords." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "People in the past didn't tape down the chords. I bit it one day, ended up needing shoulder surgery." He goes, "Just tape down the chords." And I was like, "That's it? You don't want anything?" He goes,
"Maybe a Diet Coke, too.
Maybe
a Diet Coke.
I'll take care of everything else."
Yeah.
And he, to this day, that's the number one thing. And ever since then, we've hit it off. I think that hotel bars all over the country, their stock is I don't know how much Mick Ultra they're going to need. I once told him, this is not I once told him, I said, if you're trying to watch calorie intake, if you have double-digit Mick Ultras, you're not watching your calorie intake. Right. And he looked at me and he said, I'm cleaning this up. Who invited you over to sit next to me?
Friend, pal, chief.
Good point. I'm just making a quick little statement. But if he was busting onions, he likes you.
Yes.
And that's Doug Dieken. And biggest heart, professional broadcaster, an unbelievable player. He never missed a game. I mean, he's missed 2 games in his entire 50-year career here. 2. And off the field, probably one of the biggest humanitarians that doesn't get nearly the credit that he should.
Yeah.
So
this from a buddy of mine, mentioned him before on the show, Naples. In 1987, he sent me this picture. He said, 1987, I got issued number 73 in football. He wrote Deke that he had been given number 73. Deke mailed him this back, and I'll send you guys this. And it's a piece of paper, and it says, "From the grasp of Doug Dieken." And on it says, "Chris, new number 73. Good luck in football. Beware of those holding calls on number 73. Enjoy it and have fun. Doug Dieken, old 73." How great is that?
That's awesome.
That's Deke.
but
That's
that's
Deke.
Doug. I mean,
That's him.
he answers every fan mail, every piece, signs stuff, donates stuff, whatever. He's just and no one in 9 years can pick out a holding penalty quicker on a radio call than Doug Dieken.
Oh yeah, he's looking for it. He's ready.
You can expect. Like Jim will say, "There's a flag." He goes, "Yeah, it's a hold on blah blah blah."
Knows it.
Yeah.
Knows exactly where it is. Well, the stationery says in the grasp of Doug Dieken. Like, that's what the stationery says. That's incredible.
Yeah.
One of those instances where you hear all the stories about somebody and then the reality is even better. Yeah. All the positive things that I had heard about Deke, and then the reality of him is even better than that. So, an institution.
I've never even seen him. I don't even ever think I've ever even seen him upset. He's like always in that. I mean, maybe, Gibby, you've probably seen it maybe more than I, but he's just kind of. He's always Deke, and he's always
Deke.
Yeah, he's just kind of like soaking it in, making his comments. Which again, you want to be when you're around him. You want him to give you something at some point, right? Because if you're sitting with him, you spend 3 hours with the guy, and he does not bust your onions once. He probably doesn't want to be sitting with you, I would say. So like you welcome a little shot from Deke. You need it almost. It's kind of that's his love language.
He might be annoyed about something, but I've never seen him angry. You know,
I'll tell you this too. And he is what I love about, when you have accomplished certain things in your life and you've reached a certain age and a certain stature, you don't have fear of things that other people might have fear of.
Nope.
And so if the Deke wants a smoothie, he's having a smoothie. He doesn't care who's going to stop him.
He actually was talking, I think I'm going to come in this week. I'm going to have lunch.
I think he should come have a meal of food. Break a little bread.
I think he should, yeah. Getting it's a little bit like comedians used to say, like when you were in the presence of Don Rickles, like you wanted him to crush you. Like that was what you wanted. And so like when you're in the presence of Deke, you want him to come at you because that's the essence
of his love language.
Is that. Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. That's going to be some history on Sunday for everybody to be a part of. We're off and running here on a First Friday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. EOX Vantage has a local presence and a global footprint. It's trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. Here's a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Shield. He's the Vice President of Skyward Specialty Insurance. The tools they've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door for us to all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut way down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally, it is a brand new ball game for us, and it can be for you too. I encourage you to learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616 for more. Well, it is a First Friday. It is 1:30, and at this time we like to talk to Sir Andre Gribble, who joins Z back at the CCCM. And good talking to you, Gribbs. As always, we were talking about Deke, and I saw your tweets about it yesterday afternoon as well. Now that it's set in a little bit about a 50-year run in a 75-year organization, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible achievement. I think that when the way I read Tony Grossi's story about it, it was really good about how, when you think about it, no one has been a part of more Browns games in the flesh than Doug Dieken.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of 50 years, he played in 14 years worth of games and then called 34 seasons, missing just 2 games in the booth and none on the field. I mean, that no one else has been to more games, and it's just he's been the soundtrack for everything, and I think his style of broadcasting as well, where he is kind of just seamlessly there and interjecting where he needs to, and doesn't try to take it over like some of these other former players do. When you hear how unique Browns broadcasts are when you go on the road and maybe listen to Sirius, and you see how different they are, and that's what makes where Deke has worked so well with all these different play-by-play guys, and now, of course, with Jim Donovan, it's a great team in the booth now. But it's just we've been so lucky to have Deke for all these years because he's just always been here, and that's what it's going to be so different without him. Obviously, I think he's going to be around here a bunch, just not in the radio booth. But it's a great achievement. Also, sad to see him leave. You know, you want to be around here forever, but just a great time to do it with 50 years. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement. There's no words that describe that.
It's stunning. I mean, it really is. And I think you're absolutely right. He's seen more Browns football up close. And I think the thing that is the biggest bummer, I think, you think about the great career Joe Thomas had, and his playing days weren't even as long as Deke's. And then you think about Deke, and you think about number 73 in this organization, and it just would have been so great for him to be able to have, a Super Bowl. Just like Joe's career would have been great for him to be able to get into the playoffs. And you think of, how good, because it is true. There's no doubt our broadcast team and those two in particular are, I think, the class of the NFL. And so to have that, and unfortunately not be able to get, especially this season when we thought it was going to end, so much differently than it is ending, that part of it is a bummer. But Deke's always going to be around, and I think, if this team and this city, or if we get lucky enough, and we will, it's not luck, when we, make our way and we one day hoist Lombardi, like, I can't wait to see Deke. Deke should have his own float in the parade, quite frankly, just the Deke float where he's, running around there. So, It really is. It's a wild thing to think about what he's done. You think about your profession, and you think about what we all do, and the fact that none of us are even as old as Deke's time with the Browns. Like, Deke's time with the Browns predates our existence on this planet.
Yeah, and I think that,
and I'm not that young.
It's crazy because there's two separate chapters in this Browns career, and both of them are astonishing.
Yeah.
Like 14 years without missing a game, without missing a start at such a demanding position that left tackle was. And I think as he jokes in the podcast we taped with him and Jim Donovan that's coming out tomorrow, the rehab and training wasn't quite on the same level back then as it is now. So he was going through a lot of these injuries and ailments with the medical sciences not quite at the level that it is right now. And playing through all those, the rosters were so much smaller, so we really didn't have a choice but to get on the field. So that chapter alone is a remarkable career. And then to do this for 34 seasons with 2 separate instances with a little break in between, you don't see that really anywhere else in the NFL for just someone's broadcasting career. But he had both of them, and they were all in the same place.
Yeah, and Gribbs mentioned that there. The podcast dropping tomorrow with Jim and Deke on all of our outlets. You'll be able to get that and recommend it because you want to walk down memory lane. You're not going to do better than a walk with those two. Gribbs, that's the fun and the warm and feelies of everything and paying homage to Deke.
Can I just jump in real quick before we transition out of it? So
Please.
Just as a little spoiler for people, what was maybe your favorite story or moment on this pod? Or maybe your second favorite, so we leave the favorite for
I'll leave the favorite for people to find out tomorrow. But it's just hearing him, recall all these moments that are just so crystal clear. I think he probably has clearer recollections of all this fun he had with players off the field as he did on the field. I think he talked about how they used to train at Hiram, and that was a dry town back then. But after 2 days, he said it would be like a drag race to get out of town and go hang out with the guys. And he that's why Deke has so many friends. I don't know if anyone has more friends in any life circle than Deke does, because he just speaks so fondly of all these teammates. He was like the glue guy of the locker room. He bridged generations. And I think it was Jerry Shirk that told me in an interview I did with him that obviously everyone talks about how many pranks Deke pulled, but one of them was he put firecrackers inside someone's shoulder pads, so when they pulled him out of their locker, that they just all exploded in that moment. And Deke never fessed up to it, but you could see him laughing in the corner about it. And the fact that anyone that tried to get revenge on Deke, they couldn't do that because he would just come back 5 times harder on them. So that kind of stuff comes through, and it just kind of shows why he was so popular inside the locker room and has remained that way today.
I got this picture right here. I was looking for it because I wanted to find it. And this was August 29th, we played the Falcons in the preseason finale, and I got to call the game with Jim and Doug for the entirety of that game and made sure I got a picture. And it just that's something that I will never, ever forget, the opportunity to do that with those guys, and the generosity and kindness to allow me to come into the booth with them was off the charts. And we had a lot of fun that night, even though it was the last preseason game and all of that. But that's something that's a very special memory to me personally. I was just looking for the picture and I just found it, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. As we transition to what has been this season in the last couple of days, Gribbs, it's we had Steve Levy on Monday, and he said something. He said, "Boy, I just get the feeling after talking to our guys Sunday night, and at that point they knew that they had been eliminated, that they cannot." He was really adamant about it. He said that they cannot believe that they're in this circumstance. We can't either. It's hard. Now we've had a couple of days, and it's still hard to wrap your mind around the fact that this team will not be playing in the postseason. And the last few performances have been what they've been. What do you make of it? How do you wrap your mind around the way that this is finished?
Yeah, it's obviously it's frustrating and surprising. I think none of us would have gone into the season thinking that Week 18 or even Week 17 you wouldn't be playing for anything. And I think it's just a result of when you go back and look at the season. We can talk about all the variables that played into this, but you look at every team that's in playoff contention or in the playoffs right now. Each one of those teams made a run at some point in the year. The inability that the Browns had of stacking wins on top of each other is simply what held you back. I mean, weeks 2 through 4 were the only time all season that they are able to win consecutive games, and I think that's just the fact. And the up and down nature, basically from week 4 on forward, it just that's what keeps you out of the playoffs. I think we've saw some moments of really good football. Week 9 being the best. I thought at that point that's when you start making the run. But then the reality came crashing back that next week in New England. And I think that was the moment where you really wondered, was this team ever going to be able to sustain the success week in and week out? And that's what the Browns did so well last year. They went on a run and gave themselves some insurance where you go into that Jets game, you wanted to win it at the end of the year. You didn't, but you still had the wiggle room to get a win. The Browns just put themselves in a spot where they couldn't lose any more games, and then the COVID stretch hit, then you have to play the Packers on Christmas Day, and all of a sudden you're out of it. And I think that's every team makes a run to get into the playoffs at some point in the season, and the Browns just weren't able to do it this year.
Browns weren't able to make that run. Last year we never lost consecutive games. We did this year.
Yeah.
It started with the Chargers and the Cardinals, and then obviously now we're in a 3-game slide at the end of the season, so we never had that right on the other side of it, the explosiveness. And frankly, we weren't good in close games.
Yeah.
I mean, think about games decided by 6 points or less, and we were 3-6 this season. And so for the Browns being able to come through or the opportunities where we had the ball late. And as I was saying yesterday, I thought that the game against Steelers in many ways was a microcosm of the whole season in the sense that you got what I would consider a significantly winning performance from your defense. I mean, you hold Roethlisberger to 2.7 yards per attempt. And then, of course, it's been the year of insane losses, right? We do something against the Chargers that's never been done where you have 500 yards offense, 40 points, no turnovers, and lose. This one, no quarterback had thrown the ball more than 40 times for less than 150 yards and won since like 1952 or something, whatever it was. It was early 1950s. The game against Lamar, he throws 4 picks. It's just that in many ways we were not complimentary football enough as a team to make it happen. And I think that, you come up short in close games, you come up short with a lack of offense, and we'd assumed the offense was just going to carry through. Because if it did, I think we've already clinched the AFC North.
Yeah, I think if you would have told us at the beginning of the season what this defense was going to be, just from a pure statistical standpoint, you're like, wow, this might be a 1 or 2 seed. Yeah, I mean, that's what you might have thought. And then, but it just also, you mentioned the complimentary football part of it. Obviously, the offense underperformed expectations this year. But then in your two of your 3 best offensive games this year, the defense was not good.
And they were early in the year.
The Chiefs and the Chargers. And so that led to some losses that could have easily been wins, and you're in a different spot today. So it was definitely, I think the defense performed maybe above expectations. We thought this year, offense below. But then at the same time, you had some moments where the other side let the other side down, and you just end up basically all the coin flip games just didn't go your way this year.
Yeah.
Chris, Nathan and I were talking about this yesterday, trying to think of, like, at any point did we have a secondary the way that we hoped that it would be? Did we play one game with a completely healthy secondary that we thought? I mean, the 3 safeties, the 4 corners. Did that happen? I mean, we thought maybe week 12, maybe? Is that what we decided on, Z?
Yeah, there weren't many, and it honestly, it didn't totally matter. I think it mattered week 5.
It mattered against the Chargers.
It mattered against the Chargers, but the ability of that group to kind of step up over and over and over again.
It's incredible.
The depth of that area, it's where I think for the first time we're going to go into the offseason and not have one of those positions as priorities number 1 or 2 on your list when you go into the draft. I feel like every year I've been here, it's been safety or corner every single time we're talking draft, and now it's not necessarily the case. You feel pretty good about both those spots because I think not only did you have players step up, but you had your good guys. I think like Denzel took his game to another level this year. I think Greedy had a really good season. Troy Hill was good when he was on the field. Obviously had a couple injuries there, but you had great corner play. I think Grant Delpit had Greg Newsome was as advertised. Grant Delpit I thought had a really good year. So you feel good about those spots, even though, like you said, it was almost like the offensive line last year. You never had the offensive line together, and then this year was obviously another chapter of that. But you never really had that secondary that you envisioned having, but it really, up until outside those first couple games, didn't matter too much.
It did not.
No.
You got guys like M.J. Stewart steps up, and a guy that had come in last year, made big plays for you down the stretch. Everybody would remember that, and then he continues his play. It is disappointing, and I think, we talked about going into the offseason. I hate that we're even, talking about that because this game, unfortunately, does not have the meaning we hoped it would. But last year, it was all about, okay, what do we have to, we got to get this defense figured out. And this year, it's going to be the offense. And so far, Andrew Berry has done a pretty good job at shoring up what it is that he wanted to shore up. The first year was the offensive line. That worked out. Austin Hooper came in and added some stability, certainly at that position. And then, second year was about the defense. And I think now we need to go back to the offense and with a real emphasis probably on the wide receiver position. I think that is, you look at our team there, and that's probably the biggest discrepancy between us and the elite scoring teams in this league is the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I do like that, but I do also think that this offseason could be a little bit more of a mix of both because I think you do have some key decisions on defense, especially in the front 7.
Well, yeah.
You've got some major decisions to make with that group, and I think after last season, stability seemed great with the offense going in, but you're always, as Andrew Berry says, he always wants to try to continuously improve everywhere on the field. I think that you don't want to take what you have for granted. I think that they've got the pieces to have a really good defense for years to come, but there still are decisions on that side of the ball too to sustain this, because if you bring back this defense at this level next year, you only have up to go for this team.
Yeah, no question. Gribbs, good stuff as always, bud. Thanks for your time.
No problem. See you guys later.
Right. That's our buddy, Sir Andrew Gribble, joining us there. In studio, OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred comp provider, your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Coming up next, Coach Stefanski from the podium. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Football isn't football without friends. Watching the Browns alone means no one's going to hear your amazing in-game analysis. And the same is true when gambling. Keep things social. Never gamble alone. It's one of the helpful, responsible gambling tips you'll find at keepitfunohio.com. And now here's Coach Stefanski at the podium.
Okay.
You guys are down.
Our final game here in front of
5.5
Bengals. So starting our normal Wednesday preparations. Had our team meeting. We'll have some more meetings and then bring the guys in this afternoon. So looking forward to, again, getting out there on Sunday, trying to go get this win in front of our fans, which is a great opportunity for us. And then just do want to make mention of, congratulations to Doug Dieken. Absolutely incredible career for the years he spent with this organization. Job well done, and just a good man. So just want to make mention of Doug. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thanks, Coach. Somebody told me you're going to let Dieken call plays this weekend.
Yeah, sure. Let's send him out.
Hey, we have named Myles Garrett also the player of the year for the team. And I just was wondering, Kevin, you've had a couple years now with Myles, and I think we've all seen his growth off the field as much as what all the great things he does on the field. Can you just speak to that, what you've seen in terms of his development and in terms of his leadership over the last year?
Yeah, Tom, easy to talk about Miles. Obviously, the on the field stuff what everybody sees is so impressive. Just incredible talent, special, rare talent, who's come up big for us in big moments. And then off the field, getting to know Miles just the last couple of years is a tremendous person. Very inquisitive, very smart. But just to see the type of person he's becoming and continues to grow, like all of us, I think it's an impressive sight to see.
And just in terms of housekeeping, the guys that sat out on Monday night, Hunt, Johnson, et cetera, any of those guys back this week? And also, what about Nick Chubb?
Yeah, we'll work through all that. The one guy I can rule out will be Sione Takitaki with a shoulder injury. And then for the rest of the guys, Tom, we'll work through it this week.
This last game approaching, Baker's already ruled out. He just rolled out Sione Takitaki. A lot of other teams would maybe rest some of their starters or some of the players that are dealing with some of these injuries for the past couple weeks heading into this offseason. But you've told us, the decisions about playing through injury are on a case-by-case basis, and it's a collaborative discussion. I'm just wondering how many people get involved in those conversations, and what does it look like, not just this week heading into your last game, but as the season has approached this game?
Yeah, we'll talk through all those type of things, Cam. And we expect to win. They're keeping score. We're in front of our home fans. We want to go out there and win. And if guys are available, they're going to play. If they're unavailable due to injury, obviously they won't play. But our full expectations are to go out there and play well, and the players know that. So we have to use this week to make sure that we're prepared to get ready to go.
And just one thing about Case, is there something about him that, this is a difficult situation. You don't have a whole lot to play for. Is there something about him that you think will help, rally the troops, so to speak?
I think he's a pro, Marla. Just my conversations already with him this week. He's ready for the opportunity. He very badly, obviously, wants to get a win like the rest of our guys do. But that's the role Case has really played for this team throughout this season as a backup. Obviously played there in that Denver game, but constantly providing leadership from his role.
Follow up on Case here. How do you think that Case will handle some of the issues that you guys have on offense, which Baker had to deal with, all season long, just in terms of, the right tackle and, some of the problems at receiver and whatnot? I mean, how do you think, and you guys might not even have Nick or Kareem this game. So with all of his experience and whatnot, how do you think Case will handle some of these issues?
Yeah, Mary Kay, I think just each one of these games, you're always without someone due to whatever the reason. Very rarely do you have your full complement of players. I mean, that's maybe week one that you have that type of roster. So I think Case and any of our quarterbacks and really across the board, and as coaches, really, you have to make sure you give the players a plan with the guys that you have available, and then we just got to execute.
As far as Case starting, was there any thought given to Nick Mullins just because he's younger and maybe you guys wanted to see more of him?
No, and obviously Nick's. We're happy that we have Nick. Good to see him now that he's back off of the COVID list. But Case will be the starter.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to ask you about Joe Woods. It took a little time for this defense to kind of find its groove, I guess, and really ever since that New England game. It's been one of the best defenses in the league. So I guess over the course of this year, how have you seen Joe kind of handle some of the ups and downs and the adversity and kind of building this defense into what he wanted it to look like?
Yeah, I think Joe and the defense is
back in 30.
Dan deserve credit for some of the growth of the defense throughout the season. They've adjusted. We've run some things in some different games that we haven't run. So I think you've seen some adjustments from them. I think our defense has played really well in division games, which I think is a big deal, and constantly searching for ways to improve. So I think they've done a great job.
You're up.
All right, good stuff there from Coach. Browns fans, get into First Energy Stadium quicker on game day with Express Access. Enroll for free today to enter through exclusive lanes at each entrance. Plus, use Express Access for a chance to win a signed Myles Garrett jersey and other prizes at the end of the season. Click on Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. The great Bernie Kosar coming up at the top of the hour. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. We're a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns, and we are always very, very proud and happy when we get to talk to the very spectacular, the great Bernie Kosar, Browns legend, joining us. Buddy, we could talk about this game, and that's, it is what it is. It stinks the way that it's happened and the disappointment of the season, but we've spent some time on the show with the news of Doug Dieken hanging it up after 50 years in various capacities in the organization. When I say Doug Dieken to you, what comes to mind, sir?
Wow, what a great spot to start off of with Doug Dieken and his retirement when we heard it yesterday, and to think of an individual spending 51 years with an organization. And I heard I'm plagiarizing a statement I heard from Tony Grossi. And Tony Grossi had said something to the effect of, I don't think there's a human being that's seen more Cleveland Browns football games live in person than Doug Dieken.
Yeah.
And between a player and announcing what he's done in the community, what he is as a person, what he's meant to so many young players, young coaches, people in the area. Just hats off to Deke.
Do you have a favorite memory with Deke or a favorite interaction that you had with him? Because I think of, in my mind, obviously the Hop, but he doesn't live here. In terms of you and Deke are like two major Cleveland institutions, both so beloved and both still so present in the organization, obviously, and in the community and around town. So, yeah, is there anything that you recall or anything you want to share? Just a great Deke memory you've got?
Well, there's so many
right.
Deke memories that I'm not sure how much with kids not being home, not being in school, how many you could actually share online, especially from the younger days, because Doug Deacon's last year, 1984, my first year was 1985, and Marty Schottenheimer, God bless him, but he was making a change more towards a running type team. So Deke, who still had some good years left in him from the pass protection side of it, from a player's side, we all sometimes get that unwelcome news that maybe we should start thinking about another career. And back in the old days, there was a clear differentiation between the players and the media. And back then, it absolutely not saying it was right, but football coaches tended to tell you to not be no fraternization with the media. Be careful what you say to them. So Deke, we used to joke with him a lot because one of the awesome things about Doug Dieken is he really never lost his kind of little boy, that kind of playful player mentality that he had. So even though he's aged and we're looked at as adults now, deep down we really still are players, and he never lost that kind of player mentality, that kind of player code that you have, and yet being in the media. So early in my career and early in his media career, a lot of the times of us being able to go out, and he still kind of was a player because one of our mutual friends, Robert Jackson and Dave Pizzoli, and a lot of the Bob Golick, a lot of that crew spent a lot of time together. So Deke was, even though he went into the media, he still kind of maintained that player balance, and he became one of us. And it's amazing to think of 50-some years of Browns games, whether it's as me as a little boy growing up in Youngstown, watching him play, then to have him be announcing my games, and then for him to be friends with, to end up being friends with him, and then to have been out and had way too many beers with him over the years. So fortunately, I've ended my drinking days. Deke's still going strong, though.
Yes.
Yes, he is, Bernie. He absolutely is. Yeah, he's one of a kind, man. He's an institution.
He's a freak of nature. He can still handle that player mentality.
He's never changed.
No, never changed.
I love how you said that.
And his love for the team, his genuine love for the team and for players. And for the way the game, for people say the way the game has changed, the evolution of the game. For somebody who played in the 60s and 70s and has that understanding of the overall football conceptual game and the X's and O's of it, on top of what he is just as a person. I mean, it's really an honor to call him your friend.
Yeah. Well said. I love that anecdote about he's never lost the player in him or the little boy in him, and that really sums up Deke perfectly, Bernie. Great stuff there. This season came to an end really on Sunday in terms of the playoffs with what happened down in Cincinnati. An incredible performance out of Joe Burrow and that Bengals team, and then the Chargers taking care of the Broncos, and then that was the final nail in it right there. And then you have a Monday night performance that is anything that what you were hoping for. And so then I ask you, when you think about what happened this year in the passing game, how does something like that happen? How do you get it fixed? And could any of us ever have foreseen it happening? It's hard for us to wrap our head around it.
Yeah, from the wrapping your head around it, from the disappointment standpoint, absolutely, it's there. I really like what Case Keenum said today in his press conference, and how he talked about, he's an awesome veteran quarterback. He's seen a lot of NFL football. He's seen a lot of quarterback play. And for Case Keenum to come out and say today that he probably hasn't seen a quarterback play any tougher than Baker Mayfield, and then a quarterback who's been through more duress, injuries, and still gutting it out and trying to be there and be available for his team to win games and go out there and put his body at risk and his career at risk for the sake of the team and for the sake of W's. I really love how he said that. And through the course of the year, as a guy who played hurt himself quite a bit, you when you're doing it, you absolutely want to be as positive as possible, as optimistic, and thinking through your ability to execute and make plays and get the job done when you're out there. The reality is it's hard enough to play at 100%. Reality is you're probably never at 100%. But to play good quarterback play at the elite level, at the NFL level against good teams, when you have stuff like an ankle where you're not able to get your brace and your foundation under you for throwing, or your torn labrum, where your accuracy of your, yes, it's your non-throwing shoulder, but your accuracy is just going to be off base with that. So, I want to look at the Baker Mayfield from last year, from 2020, and the way they played and the way the offensive played when he was healthy and when the team was healthy and when we were playing in rhythm and playing complementary football. Obviously, that didn't happen this year. And from Bake's perspective and from the offensive perspective of getting yourself healthy and getting yourself right, because the success or failure of the NFL and the talent differential is so minute at times that you need to be on point, basically going forward. And hopefully he can get right. He can get right in this surgery this off season and get himself ready for mini camps and stay healthy for the course of the year to get this passing game back in line to complement itself with the awesome running game that we're having.
And Bernie, you mentioned just the toughness and the will to compete. What does that do in the locker room? Because we've heard so many guys go around and just praise the toughness of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, from the I believe the locker room perspective, from the bonding perspective, from just the genuineness perspective. I mean, the players know who's kind of the cowardly lions, who's the guys who want to avoid practice, avoid contact, avoid pain, avoid games if possible. I mean, that tends to be really clear. Baker Mayfield is none of those. He is there for his team. His toughness isn't questioned, and I think that builds real good long-term credibility for the team and for the players. Because at the end of the day, I know at times we talk about us and them, the media, you guys, and I'm not sure that I particularly like that type of language at times, but I really do. And you really are cognizant of what those other 52 guys, your other teammates, think of you within the locker room. And there's no doubt that when you put your body on a line like that and you go out and compete with that type of toughness, that type of respect from your peers, your teammates, comes along with that. And I really believe there's no question that happened this year, and that respect element from the toughness. I don't think there's anybody within the organization that could question that.
Bernie, I want to ask you, I know you watch the league and just devour it, and you think of the teams that are at the top of the league right now, and we certainly thought going into this season that we would be among those teams. But if you think of the teams that are at the top of the league, whether it's the Packers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, certainly when healthy, the Rams, absolutely, even the Bills, and the Bengals, what we saw from them, they're so explosive. And you saw what Jamar Chase did over the weekend. All of those teams have an ability to stretch every inch of the field and put defenses in a really tough spot on their heels, because all of the teams that I mentioned have big time and ability to throw the ball down the field. Now, that's quarterbacks, that's protection, that's receivers, right? It takes all facets to make that happen. That's something we didn't have this year. We did not have an ability to stretch the ball. There's a lot of things that can lead to that. But I guess what I was going to ask you is, do you think you can win in the modern NFL without that?
Well, I believe you could win in the modern NFL. Can you win consistently and dominantly like that? Probably not. And again, I'll go back to last year and 2020, where we were when Baker was healthy and the team and the offense was really dominant to possibly unstoppable at times during the year. Those type of fade type throws, those type of shot type throws, we were actually executing those and getting enough of those on film and executed during the games to actually make a difference in terms of making defenses nervous, moving the ball, scoring points, putting stuff on tape that shows we could really make plays intermediately and down the field last year. That didn't materialize this year. And I think there's absolutely a correlation to, unfortunately, Bake being hurt, the weather not being set up too good in a few of the games. And then with this COVID and the offensive line issues, again, there's 9 sacks in a game the other day. That's just not all a quarterback issue when you get that type of duress and that type of pressure on you. So that ability to win consistently, you need to be able to stretch the field doing that. We did do that more last year, and I think when healthy and with our weapons on point, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, and something that obviously we're going to work on in the off season. But that's something that isn't as far off as I think some people may think it is. Especially after looking at the last 2 games, I know it looks like it's a farther process away from actually materializing it. But again, trying to be positive and thinking through what the offense and what Baker did last year with the same offense and making those plays, being healthy, that accuracy and that ability to drive the ball with your core base and your legs underneath you and your shoulders pointed in the right direction. Absolutely, the mechanical side of it needs to will get better with better health.
You know, Bernie, we talked last week about coming off of a game where, you had the 4 interceptions and you were able to bounce back, and obviously, you came through with a big performance the next week. And, this season, I would imagine, has been taxing on Baker emotionally, mentally. There have been times when you look and you see that maybe he's not trusting what he's seeing, or even trusting, as you mentioned, due to the injury, trusting his arm and maybe not pulling the trigger where he would have in the past. How do you get over not just the physical hurdle, but the mental hurdle that it must be, and the confidence hurdle, I would say, once you are healthy once again?
Yeah, Nathan, man, what a great question and point. The confidence, we've talked on the show on CBD about confidence and self-esteem and the belief in yourself. And yes, we're pros, and you should believe in yourself. And you think because we're supposedly adults that we should all have that self-confidence, that self-esteem, that belief in our ability to do that. At times when that's lacking, in turn, the ability to make those plays kind of goes along with that. I prided myself, and I know Bay prides himself on bouncing back from bad performances and stuff like that. Again, not trying to be a quarterback apologist, nor trying to make excuses, but from the psychology, as a wannabe psychologist, the psychology of NFL football games is so important to how the success or failure, and I believe the W's or L's that come along with that. And when you're not having that confidence, when you don't have that belief in yourself, when it doubts a little bit, it's increasingly hard to be able to maybe have that success. So when the Steelers, though, when the Bengals did win on Sunday and they beat the Chiefs, and we were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and the Steelers still had playoff aspirations, playoff hopes, and Big Ben's last game, the psychological and kind of emotional pendulum absolutely rolled the wrong way in terms of our Browns and in terms of Baker and that. So I think that kind of exponentially put even more pressure and even more of almost an unwinnable situation that the quarterback was in on Monday night.
Bernie, great talking to you, buddy. As always, always appreciate your time, pal.
Finish strong. You
That's
matter.
right.
Go Browns.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer, as an employee, you'll be part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Bernie mentioned what Case Keenum had to say. You'll hear that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into CBD. Here's your starting quarterback for this Sunday against Cincinnati, Case Keenum at the podium.
Yeah, Case, I just want to ask
You guys are down.
jetting to Green Bay
5 minutes.
the game. Not that you'll cherish that, but how unusual was that? And just what does it say about Baker and everything, that situation?
Yeah, that was nuts. Definitely something I'm gonna remember forever. That whole week, of Christmas, I guess you could say, being with my family, just doing virtual meetings, trying to get some work in my basement, basically doing Peloton, some band work, some push-ups, prison workouts. Went to the park one day. It was above freezing, so we went to the park one day, and my kids were over there freezing on the swings, and I'm trying to run and do a little walkthrough / get some footwork, on this frozen old soccer field. And Baker's, doing the same thing, trying to figure out what, how to get ready to play. Taking meetings by my Christmas tree on Christmas Eve virtually, going through the first 15, and then, waking up. I went and got tested at 6, and, the way my tests were going, I wasn't expecting even to be able to go up to Green Bay, and they said I popped a negative test, and here we go. We're on the way to Green Bay, get on the flight and go to the hotel, do a few walkthrough plays and go out there and play. It was unbelievable. It was definitely something I've never experienced before and hope to never do again.
And I'm just wondering with the mood of the team. It was, a rough, just, do you feel like you can sort of help rally the guys for this one?
Yeah, the mood of the team's never great after a loss, but we have 24 hours. That's over, and we're on to the next one now. So I think we got a lot of guys in this locker room who really care, who love to win, who hate the alternative. So I'm excited to get into work today. Already been at work, but I'm excited to get on the practice field and get ready for the Bengals.
As far as the Bengals are concerned, and as far as you are concerned, I'm sure you embrace every chance you get to play. So is that how you're looking at this week?
Heck yeah, man. I know we have a group of guys in there who compete their tails off, who are excited for every opportunity we get. We got coaches up there who are putting together the best game plan they possibly can this week. And, in all of our minds, this is going to be the biggest week of the year. And we're all excited to get out there. This is the NFL. Are you kidding me? We're playing football in January, playing a kids game that we've been doing our whole life. So we're all very excited, ready to get out there, ready to work, and put this season to bed on a good note.
The Bengals have it locked up. What do you expect from them coming in?
That wasn't a stupid question. No, I think they're going to play for it all. I don't know what the exact ramifications of how the seeding has gone out, but if I'm them, I'm coming in giving everything I got. They want to obviously continue to play well on into their playoff run, and I think it's going to help their playoff seeding as well. I'm not sure, you guys can fact check me on that, but I think it's important to them too. So you're going to have two teams out there that really, really, really want to win a division rival in the same state. Man, it's we got a lot on the line.
So to the Bengals, what's going to be the key to get this team ready to go off the disappointment of Monday, off the disappointment of being eliminated from the playoffs, given the expectations for this season? What do you got to do to get these guys to play their best on Sunday?
I think I have to be myself. We talked about this morning, the phrase, what are we playing for? What is there to play for? Like, that's not even in our definition, not even in our vocabulary. I don't understand what that even means. That, like I said before, this is the National Football League. You have guys in this locker room, myself included. I can speak for myself that, man, we've been dreaming about playing
30
since we were kids, all of us, and it's a dream come true to be able to go out there and represent, not only the name on the back of our jersey, our families, but the name on our front. And there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride in Cleveland. I've experienced that in the short 2 years that I've been here. So, we have a lot of pride. We have a lot of things to play for. and that's just getting me started. So I could be here all day talking about that.
You're up.
Good stuff from Case. He will start this Sunday against Cincinnati at home at First Energy. Do you love the Browns? Getting exclusive team access with the NFL Extra Points credit card for special ticket financing, 20% off at NFLshops.com, and rewards like player meet and greets and signed memorabilia. Apply today at NFLExtraPoints.com. Get started with 10,000 bonus points after qualifying purchases, enough to redeem for $100 statement credit. To learn more, visit NFLExtraPoints.com. Offer subject to credit approval. See application terms and conditions for complete details. Coming up next, a little bit of higher or lower, better or worse. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on ClevelandBrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can only play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card. With that, you get chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com, and you will find it there. Time for a little better or worse, or higher or lower, presented by the Ohio Lottery. Hello, Gibby.
Hi, boys.
Are you still basking in the glow of the fact that you had a Chesty Gibbe fan and that there's rumors of Chesty Gibbe merch?
I mean, there should be.
Oh, my God. Is there really?
Yeah, that's the word.
I mean, why wouldn't there be?
I'd wear it.
That's what I want. I would wear it.
Gibbe,
Sure.
the bottom line
Sold.
is this. If you perform at a high level in the over-unders next week, it's all yours. I'm doing the opposite. So all you have to do is go 1 for 3.
If he gets, that's it. You got to get one.
You got to get 1 for 3. Can you be Wade Boggs? Can you hit 333 for me?
Wade Boggs, my favorite player growing up.
God, I love Wade Boggs.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wade Boggs, great friend of Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. And I'm
Makes
pretty
sense.
sure either Mr. Perfect saved Wade Boggs' life or Wade Boggs saved Mr. Perfect's life. I don't remember the story, but they were out hunting and one of them got caught on a fence and the other one had to carry the other one back and save their lives. True story.
Fantastic story.
Wade Boggs, Greg Swindell, my 2 favorite baseball
Well, I'm going to figure out. I feel like in a story like this, we should know who the saver was. So I'm gonna get that information while you go.
That is kind of important.
Yeah, we want to know who saved.
Yeah. The first time I ever met Wade Boggs, my father took me to Indians Red Sox at Municipal Stadium. We sat 2 rows behind the dugout. At that time, you could literally wait for players just in the concourse and walk with them to the bus.
Wow. That's
Wade
cool.
came out. He was having a cocktail, offered me a little
course.
sip. My father was like, I
Yes.
don't think that's happening. Do you know how old that boy is? I was tall, so I looked a lot.
Wade Boggs offered you a sip of a cocktail?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a notorious
No, I knew that.
beverage
And the
consumer.
stories of the beer and the
70
taste of
beers
beer and all of that
on a cross-country
Right.
flight.
Right, but like, okay, Gibbe, what's the cocktail and how old are you? Do you remember the cocktail?
I do not remember the cocktail. I mean, I was probably 12 or 13, but you have to remember at this point, I'm probably 6 feet tall.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm almost his
That's
size.
amazing. Yeah.
All right, you guys ready for the story?
Yeah, go ahead.
True story. This is a quote from Boggs. Quote, he was my guardian angel. Talking about Mr. Perfect. We were on a hunting trip in Iowa, and I got entangled in barbed wire. I was climbing a fence, and thank God he was there because he got me entangled. He wound up carrying me a mile on his shoulders as I was bleeding out of my right leg. He got me to the hospital. He basically saved my life because I would have bled to death if he was not there.
Okay, this is what I would say as someone who has a great familiarity with barbed wires
Yeah.
and barbed wire fencing
Yeah.
and hunting. For you to become so entangled, what Wade Boggs just described there in that story is something that happens to calves, baby cows, okay?
Yes.
It is not something that happens to a human unless there were many cocktails consumed.
Well, I mean,
that would be my
minor
sleuthing
details
on
like
that. Yeah, that'd be my sleuthing on that.
It
But
wouldn't.
you'd have to try really hard to get ensnarled in barbed wire as a human.
Well, he
Really
did,
hard.
and Mr. Perfect saved him. Then when Mr. Perfect passed
God
away,
bless him.
Wade Boggs is the one who actually inducted him and gave the speech into the Hall of Fame.
It's awesome. That's great. Yep.
It's awesome.
That is.
However,
It's fantastic. It's a great story.
the story has a little fishiness to it. There could have been
It
a little
does.
shenanigans.
Yes.
Well, I don't think he's
There's
not commenting on
something-
whether or
there's a
not he was
curveball.
sober. He's saying
Yeah.
this is what happened. I was trying to climb this fence and I
And maybe you
got
were
myself
bleeding
stuck.
as much as you were
There's no way.
because you
Not
had
that
so many
complicated.
adult beverages that
Right.
the blood flow was.
That guy
Yeah,
carried
that's
him
right.
for a mile. Just you're focusing
No,
on the wrong
that's I'm not
details.
stealing the headline. The headline's the headline.
No, you're burying
He's a
it.
hero. Co-sign it. All of it. I don't want to bury the lead. Just the notion, though, that story was told to an audience, an ignorant audience, perhaps that does not see the total picture of it, and was not saying, "Well, wait a second, Wade. Like when this story was first told, how did somebody, if someone in the audience knew, they would, well, wait a second, how did you get entangled? I mean, it didn't even make sense. You don't climb a fence, a barbed wire fence. You don't climb one. You climb over one.
Well, he's trying to
Usually
climb
four
over
strands.
it. Yeah, he's trying to climb over.
It's 4 strands. I mean, to get entangled, You have to really work at it.
My guess is that it got stuck in his leg, and that's the entangled part, right? He got a barb in his leg that maybe ripped a little bit of his thigh, and then he's bleeding out of his leg. But maybe it was a big barb. I don't know. Listen,
There's one size barb.
I've seen guys, maybe it was razor wire. I don't know.
It's not San Quentin.
Were they hunting on a penitentiary ground?
Maybe.
It's not Attica.
It's supposed to keep you, it's not to keep you out, it's to keep others in.
Oh, my God.
All of a sudden, they're like Vaughn and Wilson and Wedding Crate, like a human, like a worthy adversary. They're hunting humans in Iowa.
That is crazy.
It's amazing. But God bless Mr. Kurt Hennig. Great, some of the greatest promos of all time, the greatest scripted promos
Let me
of all
just
time.
say, let's not forget he did have to go.
You're really
to
going to die on
a
this sword
hospital.
right now, aren't you? And there's not
No,
really
we're
a sword to
excited
die
for
on.
we're excited for Mr. Hennig. We're not taking away from Kurt Hennig. No one is.
All right, he's perfect.
That's not what we're taking away from. Yeah.
Well, in this story, it was a thick patch of woods. They were hunting game inside a thick patch of woods when the latter got entangled in a barbed wire fence. Immobilized due to deep lacerations on his legs, Boggs would have certainly bled to his end had Hennig not interfered. Uncoiling the jutting steel out of Boggs' limb. This is a good description. Hennig carried his injured friend over his shoulder through dense and impassable vegetation. Well, not impassable, nearly impassable vegetation, all the way to their truck, which was parked more than a mile outside. He then drove the bleeding Boggs to the hospital immediately, reaching before any substantial blood loss and thus saving his life. I like this person's
Are we
right.
sure that one didn't accidentally shoot the other?
That might be in play too. Are you sure it didn't? The byline here isn't V. McMahon.
It is
That feels
not
like
V.
a V.
McMahon. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
that's
that
good
maybe he
writing.
wrote
That's
that
flowery
prose.
language.
Yeah.
It really set the scene for me.
Higher or lower? Presented by our great friend.
Higher or lower?
The Ohio Lottery. This week, compliments of Pro Football Talk and our friend Mike Florio. I look forward to him
boy.
stonewalling me next month at the NFL Combine.
Oh, boy.
By the way,
yeah.
we're going back to the Combine.
When is it?
Are we sure?
March 1st through the 7th. Game on.
March 1st.
That's late.
Wow, that is late, brother.
That's late, bro.
It might be February 28th. It might be that Monday through, but I know it's March 1st through
Is
the
it a
7th.
leap year?
I don't know. Is that it? Maybe it's a leap year. I don't know. Hold on. Let me look.
I don't think
All
it
I've
is.
heard this week from the people in the South is Indy is expensive and cold.
Who's complaining about Indy?
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The two Southern teams play there on Monday for the national title. and
It is
it's quote,
cold, but it is
expensive and
certainly
cold.
not
It
expensive.
better not be our.
No.
It's not our guy Ledbetter. He would set
Oh
them
gosh,
straight.
it's not.
The
of course
Orlando,
it's not
a
the
man of-
Orlando.
no, he's
Zero chance.
Class.
Zero chance.
He knows what it's like up here.
Yeah. It's all class.
I'm sorry you're soft in the SEC while you're playing
Yeah.
for championships. It's amazing what happens when you have to play or stay a week in some adverse conditions.
Get some cocktails.
Well, they'll be at the JW Marriott. I don't think they'll be that adverse.
No.
They won't even walk outside.
I
They'll
also
just
think
walk
that's
in
a
the
strong
tunnels.
possibility.
Yeah.
When was the last time Indy held a national championship game? Is this a
It's
first?
never happened. There's never been one in the North. First time.
I mean, I kind of like it.
Oh, Previtz is going to be there. Roll damn tide, Previtz. Good for you.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Wow. Previtz seeing a championship. Love it.
Should be a good one.
Who's favored in this game?
I think Georgia's favored, which makes no sense.
And Bama beat them already once this year, right?
They smoked them in the SEC title
SEC
game.
championship.
Yeah.
All right. Higher or lower? Should the following teams be higher or lower? First and foremost, do you guys agree with Mr. Florio's top two teams? Packers 1, Rams 2. Zegura.
I was nervous for a second that you were going to ask if we agreed with his commentary on our football team.
No, we're going to skip that.
Thank you. I was going to be like, hey, what?
No.
Um,
I'm not that dumb. Some days, but not today.
Yeah, I'm fine with it because the Bucs are missing critical pieces of their passing game. I think Godwin is a massive loss to what that team likes to do offensively. They just had a tough time with the Jets. Now Brown is out. Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. But at the same time, right now, the way Matt Stafford's playing, that's a tough team. Hold on. I'm not fine with it. The Chiefs are still number 2. I don't care that they lost that game. I don't care that they called a ridiculous coverage on 3rd and 27 and sent me into a tizzy. I still think they're better than the Rams and the Bucks and certainly the Titans.
Bishop.
It's one of the – no, I mean, I've been on the Packers as the number 1 team in the league for like 6 weeks now. So, that's appropriate. I would not – I'm with you. I would not have the Rams second. I'd still have the Chiefs second. It's amazing that Spagnuolo did not have a stage check. Absolutely astonishing. The man had 230 yards receiving up until that point. The idea that he said, yeah, on your own, and the corner, by the way, was not Jalen Ramsey. Like, he was not Deion Sanders. It was not Rod Woodson. It was not
Revis
Ward. Like, Revis Island. No. Dick Night Train Lane wasn't walking through the door. They had just a dude on him, just a dude. And they're like, yeah, you can handle it. You've done well so far.
I watched that same play work like 4 times in that game already. I'd already seen that one.
Right. We heard Burrow, what he said. They asked him about it. He goes, well, it's like what y'all say. F it, Jamar down there somewhere.
Smart man.
There you go.
It's worked out pretty well
I mean,
for
we
him.
had a long one in our game, and the Steelers wisely put 3 safeties back, one in the middle, one on 3 deep thirds, and then played man underneath. Said, okay, what are you going to do?
Right.
Can't get a first down that way. They kick a field goal,
No.
Hobbs gets it back. Anyway, we didn't handle our business fine.
Next.
Higher or lower?
That takes us to number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 11-5. Higher, lower, or just right, Bishop?
I'll go lower just because of who he has to receive to. He's got to throw to now. I mean, no Godwin, no Brown. Evans is iffy.
He's banged up, yeah.
You know,
Fournette's
I mean,
banged up.
who in the hell? Who do they have to throw to? And it's amazing. He's thrown for almost 5,000 yards at age 44. Defies logic. 40 touchdowns. But you know, I think that their ceiling right now, just because of their health at the pass catcher, is lower than the Rams' ceiling. So I would go right now, Green Bay, Kansas City, Rams.
Zegura?
I'm fine with that. I like that.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, number 4, the Titans. Number 5, the Chiefs, takes us to number 6, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, read what he says. I don't like that either, even though I don't disagree with that.
Are you talking about the Bengals? Who are you
Yeah,
talking about?
Bengals. Get used to the Bengals in the playoffs for years to come. Get ready for them to win a playoff game for the first time in more than 30 years. Joe Burrow's legit. He's that dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a hard time in a few years when, you know, the Rodgers and Brady stop playing. It's going to be Mahomes and Burrow as the top 2.
And Herbert and Allen. I mean, they're all AFC guys.
It's great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Watson, if he ever plays again and can get his issues in order.
I like that he put them 6th. I've seen others that have the Bengals still like 9, 10.
What?
I'll say this. You tell me what you guys think about this. Aside from the teams that we knew would be here, and most of the teams that we thought would be here are Green Bay, the Rams, Tampa Bay, Buffalo's right around here, the Chiefs, they're in this mix. Outside of the teams that we knew would be here, to me, Cincinnati's the most dangerous.
Oh,
because they can throw it on anyone. They're more dangerous. They're playing better than Arizona. They're playing better than Dallas. They're playing better than the Chargers. They can spin it on anyone. And because you have those 3 receivers, and if Mixon can get through the COVID issue, they can just be in scoring contests with people.
Well, they did lose to the Chargers, though, right? At home in a game when they turned over.
For sure.
The
I mean,
Bills,
they lost the Jets. I'm saying the way they're playing right now.
Oh, yeah,
they
scary.
can score on anybody. Anybody.
I'll tell you what could derail it. I mean, we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. At least we got our COVID cases out of the way. It looks like things are just hitting stride, unfortunately, for the Bengals down there. I mean, what are
They'll benefit
they
from
have
the
7
5
guys
days
now?
versus 10, though, Gibby. They'll benefit from the 5 days versus 10, which we had to deal with.
They will, but, you know, I mean, if you get a guy testing positive on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Do you guys remember last year? It seemed like once we played our game against the Jets, it was almost like nobody tested anymore. Like there was nothing. Do you remember the playoffs last year? There was no COVID. Didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like I'm wondering if that'll happen this year once we get to the postseason.
Great question. Next.
Higher or lower?
The Arizona Cardinals follow up the Bengals at number 7, 11-5, big win over Dallas. Higher, lower, or just right, Bishop?
Well, they got to be ahead of Dallas because they just beat them. They're a weird team to figure out. Just with the inconsistency, there's a time when it looked like they couldn't lose to anybody. Then they could lose to anybody.
Yep.
And then they beat Dallas, so you feel good about that. It's just going to be about matchups for them going forward. I like the Bills a little more than them, so I would probably have them down just a touch, just because from an inconsistency standpoint. But they're in the vicinity of where they ought to be.
Zegura?
Yeah, I think I think they are exactly where they should be, although I would move them one spot lower. I think they are slightly worse because I like the Bills better than them.
All right.
And the Bills are getting some run out of Devin Singletary all of a sudden, and if they can run the ball and then also we know they can throw it and they've got a very good defense, that can make them a little bit tougher of an out. And I still think that they absolutely could represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
All right, Arizona, Dallas. Who's the pretender? Who's the contender? Zegura.
I will say that the Cowboys' defense is scarier to me than the Arizona offense. And so I would say if I had to, and I realize they just beat them, I understand that. But I think the Cowboys are a more complete team right now than the Cardinals.
Bishop.
I don't think either one is a contender, but I think the Cowboys are the more dangerous team because they can score defensive touchdowns at any point with Parsons and with, why am I blanking, Diggs.
Why is their offense struggling? I know Zeke's clearly lost it, right? He's not an elite running back by any stretch of the imagination, but you still have Dak and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I know Gallup's been hurt all year. Schultz has been a solid tight end for them. It just feels like they haven't really had that explosivo that you would expect them to have.
Well, they had that the stretch where you said, and I want to pull up their schedule because I don't want to be wrong about this, but they had a stretch there about a month ago where you thought, like, okay, they got it rolling again offensively. Because remember, Dak got hurt, and then they had played without him. So, like, they scored 56 against Washington. They beat the Saints. They'd won 4 in a row going into the Cardinals game. They even scored 33 in the loss to the Raiders. Like, but you're right. They had defensive touchdowns. Like, you feel like it should be a team that consistently scores in the 30s and 40s, and they don't have a lot of that. I don't have – I'll be candid with you. The last time I saw him watch him play for an extended period was against the Raiders. Other than that, I'm just getting them on red zone. It's not like I'm dialing up their games.
Same.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't know.
kids. That's all the
Good
time
stuff,
we have.
Gibbe. Well, the good news for you, Gibbe, is there's still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And be sure to catch the final Browns preview show of the season tonight at 7 on the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. The voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan, is going to join Ken and Gerard for the program tonight, all along the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. And remember, tomorrow that podcast with Jim and Deke will drop, and you're going to want to check that one out. Just an incredible walk down memory lane. That was fun today to be able to talk about Deke and in what's been a kind of a brutal week, obviously, to be able to have something to look forward to. And that something to look forward to for this broadcast with you guys on Sunday. That's going to be history.
Yeah, it's going to be special.
Don't screw it up, you two.
Just tape the cords. Tape the cords down, and I'll be far away on the sideline.
You'll be good at that point. The next level is coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.